lagi no.
So, good morning, students. We'll start our topic number 4, which is project meeting minutes and updating of plans. The purpose of updating of the project plans. So, first one, project meeting minutes. Meeting minutes should be prepared with a requirement that any disagreement with the items recorded in the minutes is raised with a predefined period, perhaps 1 week. So the progress meetings will also result in the preparation of a construction progress report for the client. On construction management projects, the construction manager holds regular construction progress meetings with the client and consultant team. However, they will also hold regular construction progress meetings with trade contractors to discuss on and off-site progress against the program and to coordinate the release of information. It may sometimes be appropriate for these meetings to take place at the trade contractor's premises. Construction progress reports will then be prepared for the client. On large projects, the construction manager may hold a daily logistic meeting on site with trade contractor foremen to organize, schedule, and coordinate on site shared services such as deliveries and offloading, hoist and craneage, scaffolding, safety issues, rubbish clearance, etc. Similar meetings may be held on management contract projects between the management contractor and the works contractor. Next, updating of the plans of the project, that is the purpose. It is not easy to construct and it is not easy to organize something that requires skills from various people on such a huge scale, which is why there are so many delays and budget overruns. But there are methods to improve the current way of doing things, ways that can significantly help to make a difference in terms of time and cost spent in a project. This is where real time collaboration comes in. The various reasons why it is important to have on site and off site real time collaboration are cited below. Number 1, live updates to our schedules and tasks off site. So, as mentioned earlier, meetings and emails are essential for information flow, but they require a lot of time and planning. And by the time the information is distributed to relevant people, the information or data is days old. So instead of wasting time on weekly meetings and daily tasks, one can use real time collaboration technology to stay updated on tasks. So there are various project management software solutions that provide you with the ability to monitor tasks on a daily progress, and a few of them provide real time technology that keeps the schedule live. So offsite and offices are connected through the software, and that avoids the need to send out emails, calls between work and scheduling meetings. Number 2, fast effective collaboration. So they need to be manually updated and then the updates needs to be sent out to various people involved. This takes a lot of time. So in short, we can save time and provide our workers at site with new information at any time. Number 3, fewer emails and calls. Through instant messages in real time, the need to send out emails decreases. There is also no need to call as the information is structured in such a way that the workers on site can understand and update progress without restoring to the traditional method of calling. Number 4, less administration and a full audit trail. Audit trail and a record of variations are a must for any contractor and client, so it justifies the resources and expenses incurred there were not part of initial budget planning. For a construction manager or project finance officer, it is a daunting task to keep all the paperwork in order. Timesheets alone can drive everyone crazy. So there is where real-time technology comes to play. There is less paperwork for managers if all tasks and changes are available in black and white for them to go through. Live updates makes it easy to create reports and PDFs of the progress made and changes applied. Number 5, supplementary features with real-time collaboration. Well, real-time collaboration becomes the data hub where all our actions and information are stored. This central hub then can be used to gain insights and overview of various tasks. In short, we can gain valuable knowledge from our past actions. The data isn't lost, and then improve the way we did things for future projects. Various software programs also offer the possibility to use tags and filter options, allowing managers to get a thorough understanding of the data. So, thank you. Now you can give your attendance in the chat box.
Site analysis, presentation outline. First, we look into introduction and then we move on to different factors which is being listed under natural factors which affects the site planning, which is a notification from. our last presentation. So then we look about vegetation, wildlife, soil, and climate factors which affects the site planning aspect. And then we move on to land use and urban planning. First, vegetation. A study of vegetation helps in locating large existing trees which can be retained. These can be used for providing seating. The ecology of the area should also be examined to know what plants or shrubs would grow in that area. So, vegetation is about the study of landscape. So, different types of trees and what type of shrubs and plantations can be used in the present site conditions. So, we also need to have a thorough understanding about the existing trees. So for example, if you have a huge site and there are a bunch of trees in the middle of the site, there might be a lot of chances the designer is not able to incorporate the trees within the design. In case if they want to replace those trees, they need to understand the spread of the roots and how deep the roots are going inside in order to take it out and replace it effectively so that it can grow again within the site but in a different location, so that the ecology of the overall site is also maintained. So understanding about all this comes under vegetation factor. Now let's move on to wildlife. This is an important consideration when choosing a site for park and recreation, fishing and hunting or major recreation activities. So for example, when you're designing a boat house or when you're designing parks and recreation areas, you need to understand you don't affect or you don't remove the wildlife that is being present in the place already. So for example, if there is a huge chunk of land and since there is no human use, there might be lot of smaller animals and plants which smaller animals and birds which comes to this type of place. But once the human activity starts happening, these birds and animals eventually starts moving outside. So you need to be sensitive to the ecosystem, and as well as the type of design that you're going to propose. It should go hand in hand so that even the ecosystem is not affected, as well as the design vision or design proposal is not getting affected. The selection of land suitable for such activities depend on natural wildlife present in the area. Wildlife also adds form, color, movement to the landscape. One might also want to be informed about the wildlife present in the area to preserve it and not disturb the animals' natural habitats due to the construction. So, if there is certain type of extinct birds that's coming to your site, you might not create something very noisy or something which will create a bad condition for this type of species, and it will get rid of it completely. So it has to go hand in hand. So understanding about wildlife gives the designer or architect to make very sensitive design to these type of factors. Next is soil. The different type of soil present or analyzed. Soil decides the stability of land, foundation, suitability, excavation, erosion, drainage, and plant growth. As the topsoil is essential for good plant growth. So we need to know what type of soil condition is being present on top of the site, not only just to understand about the foundation, but also to understand what type of plants and what type of shrubs can be grown in this type of soil. So soil has to be rich enough so that a good amount of landscape can be adopted. If for example, in a case where you have a site where the topsoil is not so good, the topsoil can be removed and a good rich soil from some other site can be taken and be filled in order to support the landscape. The bearing capacity of the soil is an important factor to be considered while locating buildings. There is something called bearing capacity of soil, which determines where the building can be located so that it will be safe for construction. Soil classification. So soil is usually classified into three types, which is sand, silt, and clay, which depends upon the amount of water content that is present in each of these categories. So, general soil type based on soil texture, the triangle indicates the relative proportion of the three particle sizes: sand, silt, and clay. So, it also varies with the particle sizes. Say, for example, if you are considering sand, the particle sizes of sand is much more bigger compared to silt, which is even bigger compared to clay. So keywords for soil characteristics are soil texture, soil porosity, soil chemistry, soil moisture. So you need to understand about texture, porosity, moisture content and chemistry in order to determine the type of soil as well as to support vegetation and your construction. Soil survey data and the importance of soil information related to building construction and basement. So usually the soil surveying is done in order to give a better understanding of your location of your buildings and your vegetations. Next is related to water supply and septic systems. Even with the information of soil survey, it can give you information to make an informed decision about water supply and septic systems. Say for example, if you are having water supply systems in a sand which will absorb a lot of water content and it will take into it and it will be regenerating the whole underwater table, which is very good for a site or a hydrological cycle to happen continuously. So related to function of land use planning, related to vegetation and wildlife habitat, which was also discussed earlier. Where to get the information? Department of Underground Resources, boring test and result analysis from Agricultural Department. So we can get information about Department of Underground Resources, which has usually documented information about various type of soil that has been present overall in the state. Also, you can take boring test and the results will show what type of analysis can be done and what type of things can be avoided, and also information can be gathered from agriculture department. So climatic factors. So next in line is the climatic factors, which is actually a major and first factor to be considered in a site planning. Across a piece of land, the elevation difference, character of topography, vegetation cover, and water bodies influence the climate of that area. So, when you see overall Earth is sphere, but even then we have different climates at different spaces. This happens due to presence of where the sun is located and where the sun has been received and how the earth is being tilted, and as well as the type of contour that is present around each space and what type of reflection and absorption it creates to the site, and also the water table and how much water bodies is present around. All this influence to the climate of the place. On the other hand, precipitation and temperature are major factors affecting vegetation. In cool and temperate climates, vegetation may be used to block winter winds. So, for example, if you're designing something in a much cooler place, say, for example, like places like UK, where we have a strong gush of colder winds, so you can actually use thick leafy trees in order to avoid or reduce the speed of the wind that may affect the people who are walking on open spaces or parks. All this climate factor depends upon elevation or the altitude where your place is located, and it also depends on wind patterns, and which is as a global wind pattern and wind direction, and surface of the earth. If the surrounding surface of the earth is contoured, if it's going to absorb and reflect the solar radiation. Topography, effect of geography, where it is located and how far it is from the sun and how much tilted it is, and climate change over the time. Even though these are all constant factors, climate change over the time is a constantly varying factor which determines or which contributes to the climate of a certain or a particular place tremendously. Different factors are wind velocity, precipitation rate at which the amount of rainfall is being observed over a time period. It's called precipitation rate. Temperature. So usually annual temperature is considered to give a much more understanding for different seasons and what happens in each month in the project. Humidity. Humidity is the percentage of water content or water vapor that is present in the air. For example, if you're designing something in a tropical climate, the relative humidity percentage is very high. So you need to create huge openings or doors and windows in order to take out the humidity through the air movement. So where do you get this information? You can collect this information from Department of Meteorology. Man-made factors. Right now we have finished studying with environmental factors and natural factors which might affect the site planning aspect. Now we are moving on to man-made factors which may affect the site planning. Different man-made factors are existing land use, which is on-site as well as off-site. How the land is being used on the site and as well as the off-site is something that's been created by human. So these are some of the factors which will have direct influence on the site. Potential of change. So, say for example, if there is a road, main highways, it is being proposed very closer to your site. There is a lot of possibility. The lot of the space due to the extension of these roads can be taken from your site. So this is potential of change. Color symbol of land use. So here we need to understand what different colors means. Say for example, usually green color is used to mention parks or recreational areas, and yellow color is used for commercial areas. These are few color codes which is being generally used. So we need to understand each color code and what it represents. Facility or site amenities. So from the position of your site where the facilities surrounded to it is located, say for example we have a site and we have a bus station, we need to record how far the railway station is and also hospital, school building. So these are basic amenities and services which usually every person who is using the site might need in the future. So we need to record all these spaces as well. Linkage and movement pattern. So how these main spots or these main node points are connected to your site is how it is being recorded by linkage and movement pattern. Communication, circulation system. A circulation system depends on accessibility, potential of change, as well as density, which is FAR. FAR is floor area ratio, which determines how dense your project is going to be. And zoning district, in which area you're going to zone, depends gives you the information about FIR. Say for example, if you're building something very close to a conservation project, the height restriction is very much limited. So you cannot go for taller buildings in such type of zones. So you need to understand about the FIR and which zone you're going to design. And also about setbacks, fire lane, and other regulation, which gives you information about how if there is any fire accident that's happening in the site, how it is going to come inside and how we need to keep setbacks in such a way the whole machine, the whole fire vehicle can go around the building and in order to stop the fire. So these are some of the elements or factors that has to be considered. And also parking schedule, which gives you information about there are a lot of spaces, public spaces in which we have one side of the road is being parked for alternative days, even days, and other side of the road is being parked for odd number of days. So you need to know about these information as well in order to give guidance to the users to the site. FIR is one of the density control device. FIR is a term the zoning ordinance will use to quantify and limit the amount of square footage of building area as a function of the building site. Zoning setback and height limits, these minimums and maximums provides the basis for the maximum building envelope of the site. What FIR does is FIR is a density control element. So it determines how dense your project can be developed, and zoning zoning and setback or and height limits give you ideas about what type of building typology can be proposed as well as the maximum and minimum heights these buildings can go. For example, this dotted line is a site and this FAR is 2.0, which means you can build twice the amount of the actual site area. So this is one proposal which occupies throughout the site and it is being built one on top of each other. The other option is you divide the site into two halves and then you stake up everything above, and we create 4 floors, which means the FAR is still 2.0, but we have almost half the plot as empty now. And there is one more option in which we can divide the whole site into 4 parts, and only the one fourth of the whole plot is being used for construction, and everything is being stacked up on top of each other, which creates almost 8 floors, and we have almost three-fourths of the building of the three-fourths of the entire plot as empty. So all these methods are right. Even though we might not be able to choose, we might streamline depending on the height restriction and zoning patterns that is being used on the site. So this can give you this can give the architects or the designers an idea how to choose what type of design. So now moving on to aesthetic factor, visual quality and relationship, landscape special character, pattern of the site, visual quality and character, visual disturbance, natural features, urban features, visual values, and characters. So usually aesthetic factors means views and vistas that is